Why do you think people hold on to this angry, wrathful idea of God when Jesus' teaching is so counter to that? It's all about love and grace, even loving your enemies. But people really, they hold on to the wrath of God. What is that about?
Aren't we addicted to violence?
Are we?
Before we go to bed, most of us end up watching Criminal Minds. I'm here. Like we watch action movies and films where they're killing and destroying their enemies. They're conquering. They're hoarding. All the things that Jesus spoke up against, building an empire, kingdom for yourself, instead of sharing, loving, being generous. It's, I would say, counterintuitive then. It's sin. That's what he called sin, right? It was the sin of the heart. It was the arrogance, the pride of life. We love that. We love to hoard. And then Jesus comes along and he says, okay, if you really want to know the will of the Father, ultimately lay down your life for your brother and sister. Who does that? How do you build a kingdom like that? I'm sure the Jews were sitting there going, really? This is the kingdom that you're preaching? We thought we were going to take over the world. This king was supposed to come and slay all our enemies, and we were going to be prosperous, even though we were going to kill other nations, wipe out children. Like it's unfathomable. I think America has taught us and has gotten into our minds, our hearts, our psyches so much. It's like the Donald Trump Jesus. I actually believe that most Americans believe Jesus was American and not Jewish. I think so. If you look at the whole Donald Trump saga, like, oh my God.
I just don't know how people have arrived at that belief when it's...
Because that's what we were taught.
But it's counter to what's in the gospel. The gospel is the core of Christianity to me. How the heck have people arrived at this, belief that it's not about loving?
But it's what we were taught. That's all we were taught. Don't you think? Like, I look at it, I'm in, you're out. So if I preach a gospel that's exclusionary, I'm always in the good books and the favor of God. And those people over there, those gays, those
demons,
those demon-possessed, Jezebel-spirited people, those immigrants, it causes huge inconvenience to power structure. So I think it's actually a power structure we're talking about. It's so ingrained, the system itself can't survive on that. And a lot of people don't want to challenge the system. Instead, they blame and gaslight the actual victims and individuals that are seeking justice. Also, like, what's your definition of justice? When you read the scriptures, a lot of us think justice, we think of John Calvin, for example. He's one of the most prolific writers of Western Christianity. He was a solicitor and a lawyer. He talks a lot about retribution. He talks a lot about suffering, spilling blood, that God is angry. He's vengeful. He wants justice over his enemies. So it's a lot of people can then justify that and go, yeah, God is angry. He's a God of vengeance. Haven't you heard this rhetoric? I have.
Yeah, and I think you've made me think that it naturally appeals to our human nature.
Yeah.
This desire for power or moral superiority.
Yep.
And then Jesus comes along and he's here to counteract our nature. Your entire nature is essentially wrong.